Hi guys.
Oh,
sorry.
Always mess up.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Hi everyone. Welcome to Chubby Chats.
My name is Pamela.
And I'm Astrid. And happy Pride Month, everyone.
And hi guys. First time we're filming a video, so hi.
Hi. And we have it's like a little nugget right there.
So if you're joining us on YouTube, we are having video now because we used to just have the video.
It's not like excellent quality,
No,
but it's something.
Yeah.
But yeah, happy Pride Month. So for
Yes.
Pride Month, I thought it would be interesting. Yesterday was the Pride March in Mexico City, and unfortunately we didn't go.
I think also in the US.
Well, I think there was some Pride marches because of the unfortunate law that was recently stated.
Yeah.
There was a lot more marches for
Yeah.
that, for what? Yeah, because it's Pride Month, I thought it would be interesting to talk about like sexuality, but in the perspective that we have seen it, like personally, not so much
Like
on the
how
broader
we-
scale,
How we've
lived it. Basically.
Yeah, how we viewed it and all of like that surrounds that as we grew up, I guess.
Yeah, because I was just thinking like this morning my parents were watching like this. They always watch TV in the morning,
Yeah.
and they were watching this program that they always watch, and there was this guy that they had invited to the program to talk about homosexuality and how and then they were asking him these questions like, so are people like born gay or do they turn gay? And then they were like, how do you talk to your kid if like he's gay, or like things like that. And that was like, I feel like that's so weird when my parents were like so attentive to what these people were saying, and then like they were asking like, so is there like, I don't know, is like genetic, like do you like if your family members are gay, are you like gay? All these things, and I was like, I don't know, for me I found it funny because I was like, I don't know, it was just things that I guess our generation
Just kind of already knows or
or just
accepts
doesn't,
it.
I don't think thinks about, because I mean just don't, but I just thought it was funny because they were very like attentive to like what this person was saying, like the guidance, or to me it seemed like a tutorial of how to deal with homosexuals more than like anything else. But I was like, okay, whatever. And like it just got me thinking to the fact that like, to me, like, well, for me personally, like growing up, when I was like a kid, I guess when I was really small, I didn't sort of think about it whatsoever, but it wasn't really spoken. It wasn't in my surrounding like immediate world, you know, people, like I just didn't think about it. But when I sort of learned of the definition of being gay and lesbian and whatnot, like I guess like in the context I heard it was like a very taboo thing where I was like, you can't talk about it, like it's just, you just don't. And so for me it was like, okay, that's it, I don't think further about it. And then that was it. But as like we've spoken before, Pamela and I have been fortunate to be able to live in other countries, so I guess for me, like really it took quite a few years for me to, I think, start even thinking about it or acknowledging it, because it wasn't only until I think we moved to France that I really started like putting my own thoughts and perspectives towards it, because still when I was like 9 was when we moved from Brazil. I was 9 when we moved from Brazil. I think till then, like it wasn't that I had like negative thoughts about it or positive thoughts about it or whatever. I just didn't think about it. Like it wasn't in my thoughts at all. It was until I moved to France.
Yeah,
like 10.
Having no opinions on it.
Yeah. Until I was 10 that I think I was like, I started to digest that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I guess being more curious and damn. This is what living in Mexico is like. Always fireworks.
Yeah.
So I apologize. And sometimes they. And
wow, great.
So great.
Okay, you carry on. I'll be back in a second.
And then sometimes they go crazy and they have this like, they go for like several minutes. several rounds of fireworks, and for some reason it's been quiet the whole morning, and they've just decided to
start
pick
right
it up
now.
again.
I don't even know what we're celebrating right now. Is it Pride?
No, at all.
Not in our town.
Not in our town. But yeah, like for me, it was until I was like, I think 10, maybe 11, that I started to process that a little bit more. And I think there's a lot that came with it, because I think my parents were also the kind of people that grew up with a very closed mindset of that's something you don't talk about. It was like an uncomfortable topic for them to bring up, so I just wouldn't bring it up in front of them.
Yeah.
Even like things as like clothing and I don't know, a guy wearing feminine colors or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that was, and I say feminine, like you can see in the video, but I mean, to me, like clothes in general have no gender, but
yeah.
Yeah, like just things like that. It was like you just don't talk about it with my family, and so that's, I guess, the sort of way that I grew up. And I think the first step for me to like challenge that more was when I moved to Finland, is where I think I started broadening my mind to like everything, and I was like, okay, I just don't get why it's such a taboo thing. It just seems like such a natural human thing. So for me, like the first step to challenge that was, I mean, if you've heard of the IB, or if you have done IB, you do a personal project when you're in grade what, 10?
Yeah, I think so.
And so my personal project was about the inequalities towards the LGBTQ plus community, and that was the first time I think I even started like mentioning just pride, sexuality in front of my parents, which was something that actually made me quite nervous and scared me a little bit, because I didn't know how my parents would react. I don't know if their reaction would be like, oh my god, is she like coming out to us? Is she telling us she's gay? And I was like, no, not at all. But to me, it's like, I feel like it's been silenced for so long that I don't see the need for it anymore.
Yeah.
So that was like my whole personal project. I even spoke about it in my personal project, the fact that I was like scared of how my family would receive it, because it just being such a off limit topic in my house. And surprisingly, my parents were like very
receptive to it.
Yeah, I think they like learned a lot, but at the same time, it's like I thought I would get some sort of reaction when I really didn't. Like they didn't react neither like in a negative nor positive way. It was just sort of like an okay, like. But I think from what I observed, I think it kind of confused them that I did it, because it was, I don't think I'd ever like brought it up before, so I think it confused them as to like what my intentions were behind it or whatever. Maybe they thought there was a deeper meaning behind it all when there really wasn't. But then Pamela and I ended up going to like the Pride March there and everything. My mom actually bought like so many Pride decorations for like us to go and everything. And I think that now they're quite like, you know,
whatever with it.
It's not like, sometimes I know that they're confused and they don't get it, but they respect above everything, where they're like, you know what, I don't get it, but it's okay, you know, it's not my business. Which I think it's, when you don't get things, it's the best way to like go about it, instead of like bringing your own opinion and comments about the subject. So they're for sure like definitely more they're not uncomfortable anymore talking about it. I think it's already such a big step for us. But yeah, like for me, I think it was interesting to like see that I guess Pamela and I, and this generation in general, is so like open to talking about sexuality.
I just think it's so weird, because like I had never noticed that like that was your way of seeing like how you grew up with all of that. Because for me, like growing up, like I remember distinct points in my childhood where people would bring up like this uncomfortableness with like sexuality. I'm not gonna put names out there, because obviously I don't know where they are with their sexuality, but just like things that I would do that would make other people uncomfortable. But then I realized later on like that was nothing to do with me, it was to do with them and like their journey and like what they were trying to figure out. But like basically what I'm saying is, like growing up, I've always been a very like my love language is physical touch, and I just love hugging people, and I love like holding hands with people and stuff like that. And I remember like growing up, just being very okay to do that with boys and girls and my girlfriends and my boyfriends, and like just like being very fine with it. And like I remember once, like when I went out, when we were in Brazil, like with some of our like group of friends, we went to the cinema, and I was like holding hands with like two of them. One of them was like just freaking out big time. She was like, "You don't do that with girls. Like you don't hold hands with girls like when you're outside. Like you can do that when you're like in a big group with like in an unknown place, but when you're like at a cinema, you don't do that." And she was like giving us this whole like conversation and sermon on like why you shouldn't hold hands in public with girls. And I remember being mad confused because like all the way to like from Mexico to Brazil and even like further on, like I had never had any issues with like sexuality. Like I don't know, I feel like for me, I never stopped to think critically of like there's an issue with you loving somebody because they're a girl or a boy or whatever. I think like it was just very like whatever. And more specifically for me, when we were in Brazil, I just thought it was like a very universal understanding of like you can appreciate somebody's body without being like in love with them. And that's because I feel like in Brazil they have like this very open culture to like sexuality and attraction in terms of like someone's body. So like me saying to a girl like you have a good body or whatever like wasn't weird or anything like that. And the only time, like Astrid said, that I started to like critically think about it, but not even like in a bad way, just like politically start thinking about it, was when we were in when we were in France, because I'm a big literary geek, like a hard-on literary geek, and I got really into poetry at one point, and I started reading a lot of like Shakespeare's poems, and I read the Vegetable Love poem. If you don't know what it is, then whatever. But like I was reading that one, and I remember being very like, whoa, wow, Shakespeare, ooh. And then I just started thinking about it a lot, and I remember having like really deep conversations with my teacher about it, and there was no like judgment from her part of like anything. It was just like us talking about like literally like metaphors and rhymes and all of that, and just basically like him, like the pressures that he must have felt at the time to not express his sexuality outright. And just like I remember doing like a lot of like research on my own on like all of that, but like there had never been any like negatives on it. And even like including our parents, I remember my dad once telling me one of his friends here in Mexico that I knew from work was gay, and I remember me being all like, okay, what is that? And then him telling me, well, you know, like how me and mom are like together, he has like a guy that is like with him like that. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And my dad just kind of expecting, I remember his face, like him expecting me to like ask more questions or ask like, you know, different things. And I remember just being like, yeah, that's cool, like that's all, like I don't know what do you want me to ask. But like I don't, like it wasn't like, and it literally was only like when we were in Finland that I actually started to like think more of it like in a personal level, and also with like the people around me, because I know thankfully in Finland, like it's such a sexually liberated country. Like there's so much flavors out there, and like I managed to see that like firsthand. And like that was more of like I really had to think more critically about it and start to see the more ugly sides of humanity and how people treat like all these different categories. And even more with me, like just seeing it with religion and all of that, like I just politically and everything, like just seeing how thankfully I grew up like not seeing very bad things in terms of like people targeting others because of their sexuality or whatever, but seeing that it actually existed and like all of that, I think like yeah, like I don't start hitting then. And yeah, I've always known my parents are really weird about sexuality, and that's like from the very beginning, because like when you're a child and you see things on TV that sometimes you're not meant to see, like I remember going up to my parents and asking them, and them just being really mad awkward, being like, okay, we're not gonna talk about this, and then them telling me go ask your teacher, but the teacher also being awkward and not telling me. So from that point on, I just knew like I can't ask my parents about anything sexual, like, but like in general, like in terms of like the LGBTQ plus community, I feel like it's just been really like, I've been really blessed to not have like really horrible bad experiences with it personally, or like any negativity towards it. So yeah, that's why I was like, it's weird, because like I've never, like, to me it was just like whatever, like I only started really questioning it like way later in life. So
yeah, I mean, I guess for me that's like what was interesting, because I feel like for our generation and in general it's just such an open topic now, where you're like, it's like no one's really, I know that there's people who have struggled with, and that's something that I feel like our generation is working towards like destroying a lot, is just that taboo. But I feel like also like in general the whole like coming out thing is like just
so weird.
Like I know, like I understand and completely respect people who feel the need to come out, or who it brings like I guess some peace to, or like acceptance towards himself to come out and whatever. But for like me, and I know that like people I've talked to, like, and just like friends and people I've known and things that I've read and whatever, like just coming out isn't even like that I guess common anymore even to say, because I feel like now everyone's like sort of moral, which I find hilarious, because then sometimes I see videos of like there's so many gays nowadays and there wasn't gays before, and I'm like okay, whatever. But like I think like now it's like, you know, people's sexuality is their business, and if they're open to, if it's an open discussion, then it's an open discussion. But when it's not, like it's people's own business. But I think that right now more than ever people are aware of the fact that like literally not everyone is straight, and that doesn't mean that like
it shouldn't be the default setting either.
Yeah, like you're not, people are like, just because not everyone is straight doesn't mean that people are gonna walk around with like tags on their forehead saying I'm gay, I'm lesbian, I'm bisexual, I'm pansexual, or whatever. Like it's just not a thing. And like I also feel like like for me, what bothered me, I think also like there was a period of time like growing up where like just the labels were like such an important thing that it was almost like a,
for some people it is
personality trait that like but for me like it bothered me because it was like almost as if like, hi, I'm blah 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 and I'm this.
I mean, we know some people like in our old school that like really hold on to their labels and
which is
whatever,
what
it's fine,
which
like,
is fine, but like I'm saying like an outward like position of like I straight people or parents or whatever who like felt the necessity to like have a like a proper or like full definition of what their friend's child or family member or their whatever it was when like I feel like just when it started becoming like such an open topic, like people were really starting to figure out like what their sexuality was or how they felt, and then like having that pressure of like tell me your label is something that I think like definitely effed with a bunch of people's
head.
And so like I know that like I know people who like struggled with that, with like feeling the need to like go through that process of coming out and through that process of receiving a label to like fit into like a category that later on ended up realizing, you know what, I never actually was part of that category, because I was under so much pressure to like say something or identify myself as something. I just said it. And I also know other people that are like
it really helps.
Like I just say it because I don't know, it brings peace to people to like have a label, but in reality like
and then like obviously we're like, I think at this point, like, let's make it clear, we're talking about like sexuality and not gender, because like gender, I think it's totally like you go for it if you want to be they, he, she, whatever, it's super cool. If you want us to call you by that, that's also super cool, like, you know. But like I think for me, like growing up, I never realized that there were other people who had different views of like how I view sexuality and gender and all of that. until I went to uni and I realized like we're really lucky, because I think like the way that we grew up and with all the perspectives we had, and also the fact that we are not to be snobby, but like we are intelligent, and we are like we absorb what we learn, like we don't just like fucking let it bounce off of us. Like I think that's so like important, because like when I went to uni, just seeing other people that also had the international bachelor degree and all that, but like who just definitely didn't understand like freedom of expression and the importance of just like freedom of like being, was like super staggering to me. And I think that that comes with like understanding how oppression has been really damaging in the past. Like I don't know, for me, I think seeing, or at least I think like for me, like personally, learning about history and what has gone wrong in the past is really helpful for like how we move on in the future. And I did my PYP project on World War II, and that was like super super incredible for me, to like opening up my mind of like how we need to indeed learn from our mistakes, and like just in general how history always tends to repeat itself. And you like, I pray with all my heart, soul, and being that I'm always on the right side of history and like doing the right thing and like backing up the people that need help. But like yeah, like that's the thing, like just seeing that and learning about that, and just seeing like all the aftermath of like horrible oppression that like a literal opinion caused. I think that for me that was like super eye-opening, because like I'm not even from Europe, and that changed my perspective so much of like everything. And then having European friends in my uni in Groningen, like who just didn't get that, like didn't take that as an example, like as a template of how you should behave in general with your opinions, is so like weird to me. So like I think our education has really helped us to like move forward and to understand things differently, and just to navigate life differently too, because I think thankfully like all these different perspectives that we've had like contact with has allowed us to like be really open-minded and not necessarily take everything and make it ours, but to know like how to filter things in and out, and just how to be a human, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say something and I forgot. But what was I gonna say?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, I think something that also like is something that we have to work with. But I think that because of the lack of like talking about it, and how I feel like here in Mexico specifically,
Oh yeah.
it's still very much like a topic that you just don't bring up. I feel like
Yeah.
people are still quite uncomfortable, like especially like adults are quite uncomfortable with
Yeah.
like talking about it. And so I know that like in my school we had like quite a lot of like issues with like
Oh yeah.
like expression of like self, you know, just self-expression in general. And there was definitely a lot of like homophobic people, parents and students alike,
Teachers.
and, yeah. And the thing is that you would expect, I think, especially in a school, you would expect your tutors and mentors to be there to like support you or protect you or whatever.
Yeah.
And when you're being targeted against, you know. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case in my school.
Yeah.
And I was witness to like a lot of people like suffering that, like being targeted of like hatred, and I was specifically to do with like somebody trying to back up their opinions with like religion and whatever. And so
Yeah.
like it got quite intense. But I feel like the fact that like instead of opening a topic to like, or opening the doors to be able to like talk about it, or try to like express yourself back toward, or like back yourself up in general or whatever, towards like people like that, the school didn't allow the students to do that, which was very unfortunate.
Yeah.
And it's such a shame, and which eventually led to like the students ourselves like having to take matters into our own hands, and making a sort of like,
Which is often how revolutions begin, but
yeah, like an own statement or whatever. And yeah, I think for like if I have like friends watching this that were in my school will know exactly what I'm talking about. But like to me, that was incredibly shocking because coming from like Finland, a country that is so openly diverse and where honestly no one really had to be afraid in terms of like getting judged or hated against because of their sexuality,
Yeah.
to a place where like talking about it, you're receiving like really snarky comments and just all sorts of like things towards it. And then the fact that like the teachers decide to completely like step aside from it instead of like helping or even like attempting to do anything
Or
about
just
it.
neutralizing the situation.
Yeah, it was completely like shocking to me.
Yeah.
And my friends will know this, but like this specific person like organized, I don't want to mention any names, but like this specific person organized like a stand, because I wouldn't say it was like a protest, but like for the students to take a stand against what like the school had done. And for me that was like very powerful to be able to see like
Yeah.
what the speech this person had prepared, and like the students that were able to join, but also the students that were too scared to form a part of because of what the school might do to them. And to the extent that some people were scared of the fact that the school might call the police on them was terrifying. And like having to like take a stand towards that, and like I ended up crying my eyes out.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is disgusting and this is shocking, because I can't believe that like still now like this is something that the students have to do, and that this specific person that was being targeted was made so little simply because of something this person wore. And I was like, this is, yeah, just, I think for me what shocked me the most was the fact that like I came from a country that was so open about it to a country that was like the complete opposite. And then yeah, like I was bawling my eyes out, and yeah, I had friends like trying to comfort me or whatever, and I'm like, things that I
Don't
don't
comfort me,
yeah,
comfort
like,
them.
like I don't know. And then like having this person like walk up to me and be like, thank you for like what you did for me today, and then just sharing a hug with this person, we were both bawling our eyes out, and I was like, I'm so sorry, like
You
you're
shouldn't
going
be
through
like
this,
this.
because yeah, this is something that should have been obliterated by now. And unfortunately it was like that didn't happen. I'm not even like weeks later, the teachers were oblivious to what had happened. They didn't care. Things hadn't changed. Still, like things still haven't changed, which is really a shame. But I guess, and I hate like having to say like one step at a time, because I feel like it shouldn't be like that. But at the same time, like I completely understand, like, and that's why I didn't judge like the students that didn't want to join, because unfortunately it is the case here where like if you do try to take a stand and you push too far, you're putting your life at risk.
Yeah.
And well, it sounds really harsh, but you're really no good to anyone dead. And so that's something that you have to think of when taking a stand in countries like this.
Yeah.
And that's not only the same for like the members of the LGBTQ plus community, but for women and for anyone who's just made less in this country. Like you can push and push and push to make change, and no one is stopping you, except when you push too far, your life is literally at risk.
Yeah.
So that's still something that I think has to be worked on a lot here in Mexico. But that I think it's gotten better with years. Yeah. And that, for example, the march yesterday, it was beautiful. Apparently, like I think there was even way too many people that like people were getting like crushed in the thing, but like I think like things like moments like those is where you realize like
there is support. You know?
There is a lot of support. There's people who are trying, to like get you further and further and further. Yeah. But that unfortunately like it's something that you have to be careful with also doing, because it's a lot of risk here in Mexico. But I mean, I guess is just keep pushing for change, but be safe about it at the same time.
Yeah. Well, if you want to be safe, you know, because like, yeah, like it's your life, and I think like that's something we can talk about in part 2, because I think we're gonna have to cut this one short soon. But we'll make another podcast that will come out later today, which will be part 2 of this. But yeah, like I think freedom of expression and freedom of choice and all of that includes like if you want to take those risks, you are totally allowed to do. And it's a conversation that I've also had with my mom a lot of times, and I think like for what I believe in, I would definitely be okay with like putting all the risks out there, like, and it's something that maybe my parents maybe don't understand, but like yeah, like being safe is a choice for some of us, but sometimes it isn't, and that goes not just for sexuality and religion and being a woman, but it extends past that. Like in countries like Colombia and stuff, that's just really bad how things are right there. Like if I could take a stand with those who are fighting against the oppressive regime that's there, I would. And I would be okay with like any circumstances that happen there, because yeah, like that's what I'm saying, like taking care of yourself and being careful is a choice for some of us, and for some others it just isn't. So like, you know, like it's all like like how far you're willing to go, and again, freedom of expression, freedom of choice. But for now, we're gonna cut this here. As I said, we are gonna film the second part right now. So yeah, if you wanna listen to that, it'll be out later today. Thank you guys for sticking around. Anything, any last comments?
No, I guess I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's a very interesting topic, and I guess if people want to share their experiences with us and how their like view on it, we'd be more than happy to like have like I guess an open discussion about it. So you can DM us on Instagram or on
you can even
TikTok.
DM us your story or whatever, like if you want to be anonymous or something. Like
you can comment on the YouTube video. If you want to DM us, you can DM us on Instagram or either I think more my account, because I'm not doing really use Instagram. So
TikTok.
Astrid Moreno, ASTRIIDMORENO, or on TikTok at Chubby Chats on TikTok. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah.
And have a good week.
Yeah. See you later today if you want to join. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Bye.